Okay, I'd like to call the January 17th, 2023 City Council meeting to order at 7 PM. If we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance. Flag, United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, we have oath of office for Counselor Santiago. Be administered tonight by City Recorder Susan Reeves.
I, Jeanette Santiago, hereby solemnly swear
That
I will do best to my ability faithfully discharge the duties of counselor to which I've been elected, citizens of Scappoose. I will support the Constitution
of the United
of the United States of America, laws of the state of Oregon,
and
and the Charter Municipal Code, City of Scappoose.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Okay, roll call. Today we have Counselor McHugh online. And Counselor Holmes is absent at this time, should be here shortly online as she is flying right now. But she should be coming on within a half hour or so. Everybody else is present. Need approval of the agenda, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Counselor Miller moves. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Counselor Friends. Any question, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A motion passes. Okay, so now we're going to public comment. I have three. If you wanted to speak, if you haven't filled out a pink form, they're back there, you can give them to Ms. Reeves and she'll bring them up. But right now I have three. We are speaking comments that are things that are not on the agenda today. We will have a 5 minutes limit, and please state your name and city of record, and NJ will keep track of your minutes and let you know when your time is up. We'll start with Joel and Judy Haugen. Please come on down.
Have it to lick it. I know.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Joel Haugen, City of Scappoose. At the January 3rd council meeting, I hand delivered a 10-page letter from our attorney, Chris Kobach, of Hathaway Larson, outlining both procedural and substantive errors regarding the December 19th, 2022 decision on Buxton Farms. Our attorney tried to get this information to all concerned earlier through public comment at the December 5th meeting. He was cut off mid-sentence, was denied giving written comments afterwards. Mr. Kobach's letter, delivered on January 3rd, seemed to catch attorney Peter Watts off guard. Mr. Watts has known that we have employed Mr. Chris Kobach, so we publicly stated so at the October 27th Planning Commission meeting, which Mr. Watts attended. He even asked for clarification as to which attorney at Hathaway Larson we were working with. It is the city's attorney's responsibility to be unbiased and to work with both sides during the hearing process. While Mr. Watts has shown a rather cordial working relationship with the applicant's attorney, he has never once reached out to Mr. Kobach, even though he's had almost 3 months to do so. As of January 12th, 2023, Mr. Kobach had not heard from Mr. Watts, so he composed and sent this email to him. Peter, in the last council meeting, you presented to the council one option, which is a voluntary remand. I agree that you accurately recited that all parties must consent in writing. I also appreciate that you had not had the chance to evaluate our letter. We presented accurately that council has another option that does not require consent of any other participant. I assume by now you have studied the letter. If you disagree with my analysis of the withdrawal rights, I appreciate it if you would let me know the basis for any disagreement. If you agree with my analysis, can you confirm that you have at least advised council that my analysis is accurate? I think we all share a belief that council or any decision maker should have an accurate understanding of the relevant law. Thank you, Chris Kobach, partner, Hathaway Larson LLP. As of today, Mr. Watts has not responded to the January 12th email from Mr. Kobach. We were on council. We would ask Mr. Watts why he did not reach out or respond to Mr. Kobach or his partner, Mike Connors, with whom Mr. Watts has previously worked to resolve differences. At this point, we do not see how Mr. Watts can provide objective legal advice to council regarding this matter, and we urge you to direct staff to withdraw for reconsideration the December 19th decision before this LUBA option runs out for you. Thank you very much for listening, and good evening.
Thank you. Okay, Lisa Bendel.
Evening. I'm here to talk about the Scappoose crime that's been going on here in town with kids that are under the age of 18. Recently, we've had, that I know of, 2 break-ins or burglaries of 2 convenience stores here locally. I talked to the owner of one of the stores, and they had said that what had happened, they knew who the kids were, they were caught, but nothing had happened past that, says the owner. By chance, I happen to know the mom of one of these kids that was involved. So I'm here on her behalf as far as speaking out. This young person has been in trouble for a while, and she doesn't feel that there's really any recourse for them getting help. And it seems to be the same people or same young people that are doing these crimes, at least the break-ins. So I'm here. I don't have the answer for this as far as what we should do, but I'm worried that kids that are having troubles like this, getting put into jail, are not getting the help that they really need. I would hate to see one of these kids who obviously criminals are kind of stupid, but in some senses they're smart. If they're so smart that they're doing these things and coming up with these plans, obviously they should be able to do something that's good for the community. I've looked into camps for youth. I'm sure all of you have thought about this. I'm not sure what the answer that way is, but I would like to be a part of the solution. If there's something that I can do or to get out there for the community, I would love to see that. Don't want to see any kids killed by breaking into a store or a home where we could have changed that. That's what I'm here to say. I want to be part of the solution. You have my email, my phone number. I'm good at speaking to other people. If there's things that I can do, I want to do it. I want to be a part of it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I
Miller.
didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
please.
Have you by chance reached out to the juvenile department yet? Understood. Just procedurally, so you're aware what happens when a juvenile gets caught. is the police officer that is making the arrest, if you want to call it that, calls the on-call juvenile officer or probation officer, and they have complete authority over what happens at that point. So that it would be a really powerful thing if you could reach out to them, and I'm sure our police chief would help in any way he can as well. Thank you.
Are these students that you speak of enrolled in the Scappoose School District? Have you reached out to resources in the school district? Okay. Mhm.
I would recommend reaching out to the juvenile department since they have authority over our youth. I will follow up and make sure that someone emails you, if not me, with the contact information for the juvenile department so that you can also, share your concerns and hopefully they can facilitate something positive with your assistance. Thank you.
At least I'll try to find out too more information of different resources that you might have available to you, and I will get back to you. Thank you. Okay, Sherry Ryan.
Hello, I'm Sherry Ryan, Scappoose. I've never spoken my first time. I wrote this down because I'm not good on the fly. Is good evening, council, and I really just all of you I've probably had some interface with, and I just wanted to tell you guys like I want to express my appreciation for everything you guys do for Scappoose. I think of the things that I was just telling Lisa because Lisa's one of my friends. Is like I look at some of the people up here, and I'm like I've seen them like literally go to bat for things that are really important for our kids and for our community. And I really appreciate that. And I wanted to also express appreciation for the city manager and the police chief going in and investigating and looking into the things with the massage business, things that are going on in our town and that are preventing illicit activity. And I just want to tell you, like, as a citizen, like watching that, like I'm sitting there going like, God, like I just literally thank you guys so much. Um, and then I also just want to continue to say thank you for uh, what you guys do to continue regarding the public safety. And I've been following just some different things with like the radio coverage replacement project in our community. I run, and I don't even know how to really put this into words, but I run like a social media news group called Engaged Citizens of Columbia County. And I've just been following a lot of stories. I get my inbox filled with a lot of stories of what is happening in our community. And I know that this is a really big and important, issue is the radio replacement project. And so I think many of us recognize it's not easy to stand up to other government agencies to question what they're doing, especially in this county where we live, where every single person basically, and there's many personal relationships involved just by nature of how small we are. And it's obvious that this council is deeply concerned about the proposed replacement radio system that we'll have on the public safety and the first responder safety and the school safety and the financial impact to us taxpayers who actually have to pay for the system, right? I've been following this for quite some time, and I just want to thank the city manager, and I also want to thank the council that we see your efforts advocating for those things for us and the safety of our officers and everyone, and I really appreciate it. And so thank you for doing that. And I know that a public safety radio system that meets all the first responder requirements at the lowest cost to us who have to pay for it should be 911's primary focus. Um, it does baffle me sometimes about the board and the things that they voted and different things, but that's the beauty of the democracy we live in. We have opinions, right? Um, Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching out for the interest of our citizens and Scappoose and supporting our law enforcement officers. Dangerous job that they do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that is all we have for public comments at this time. I do know, Counselor Holmes is now online, so welcome. Okay, we have a consent agenda that today it is January 3rd, 2023 City Council Work Session minutes and appointment of Elizabeth Scotty Meinke and Terry Brooks to the Park and Rec Committee. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Moved by Council President Greisen. Anyone to second the motion? Seconded by Councilor Santiago. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? But motion passes.
Oh,
Hey. Well, be careful. You start coaching, they'll get you roped into president for the next 10 years. And then mayor after that. Williamsport. Thank you very much, Terry. And I'd like to talk to you again at some time, but thank you. And I think we have our first meeting coming up Thursday. Some rec meeting, so appreciate it very much. New business, update on Columbia County Small Business Development Center, SBDC. Alex, would you like to introduce our guest tonight?
Absolutely. So this is Jason Moon, and he's the director, and he would like to, I believe you wanted to discuss some questions for them and gather some information so that the center functions in a way that's reflective of the council's vision, especially since we did contribute some financial commitment to this. So here to speak to you this evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Most of you know me. Like Alex said, my name is Jason Moon. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center here in Columbia County. We're still considered new. We're less than a year old. We kicked off in March of 2022. That time I started sort of drinking from the fire hose, so to speak, on onboarding through the state network and the SBA. And we are now fully operational. Have a home office because the Columbia County in kind gave us a space at the John Gunn building, but I'm told that's not going to be ready until 2020. So I'm meeting businesses out in the community, at their business, at coffee shops, at community rooms, wherever they feel comfortable to conduct one-on-one confidential business advising. So I'd like to thank the city of Scappoose for their support and commitment, again, to the SBDC, making this possible, and of course, my host institution, the Columbia Economic Team. I may sound like a broken record when I use this stat. I may have used it the last time I addressed the council, but I think it's really important. 75% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. However, when a business seeks business advising, sets up a business plan, there's a 65% success rate that that business last 5 years. It's one of the main reasons we're here in place in Columbia County. So Columbia County SBDC, for those that don't know, is a resource center for helping start, run, and grow the best small businesses here in Columbia County. We're the 20th center in Oregon. We are unique because we're the only center that is not affiliated with a community college. So all other centers, all 19 other centers are affiliated with a community college. We are for the community, by the community, funded by the community, and here to help the county. So again, like I mentioned, we offer free one-on-one confidential business advising, business plan development, management, loan application packaging with access to capital. We offer marketing plan strategies, connecting to accounting resources, navigating business regulations, hiring, managing, and retaining your team, as well as succession. A lot more. So we just entered, just completed as of Sunday, our year-end reporting with the SBA, as well as the quarterly reporting to the state office. Currently, we have over 80 clients with over 280 advising hours. Any of those clients live here in Scapa. Just a few notables. We launched a Marketing for Success series of classes with Keep It Local back in September. That was really successful. We ran that each week through the end of October. We're replicating that series because it was such a success starting next month. So we had 72 businesses participate in that series, 169 attendances for the classes. And again, any of those businesses reside here, Scappoose, or were residents. Lastly, as Alex mentioned, I'm continuing what I'm calling the Listening Roadshow. Was here before the election. There's some new faces, and I wanted to get in front of those of you as well. So I believe in your packet, there's a series of questions. Some of you did fill those out and get those back to me. I really appreciated that. I'm looking to hopefully get 100% attendance here and get those back as I continue to go to each city within the county making the same requests. So again, as the director of the SBDC, I just want to ensure that we're meeting your expectations as the city of Scappoose being a stakeholder, offering the best services possible to businesses, entrepreneurs, residents, whoever's thinking about starting a business here. Again, if you have time, look at that survey, just fill out any of those questions. If you have any concerns or further questions, you can always email me. Contact information is there. Call me. Live here in Scappoose, you can come knock on my door. I don't know if there's any questions or comments before I leave, but
I mean, you have a handful of Scappoose clients then at this time,
correct.
as well as
Yeah.
the whole county.
Yeah, so I would say that out of those 80 clients, I don't have exact Scappoose numbers, but I would say that probably about 20 of those clients based are in Scappoose here.
How do you recruit them? I mean, they're already established customers and clients in the county, correct? They're not going, you're teaming with Columbia Economic Team and hear of new ones that are coming as well, or reaching out and you approach them as well as, hey, when you come here, we're here to help.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a part of a lot of networking groups within the county. I'm involved in each of the chambers. I'm a Rotary member. I'm a Kiwanis member. So just being in the community and speaking to the SBDC, these are all inbound. I really haven't done any active outreach yet because I'm still just a one-person show. This month, I will be hiring a part-time admin and a part-time advisor. So my hope is that as we ramp the center up a little bit more, that'll be more outreach. So everything has just been word of mouth at this point, really.
Yes.
What, Jason, what needs do you feel that the businesses, local businesses are needing? What resources are they needing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get a lot of questions asking for access to capital grants. As we know, there was sort of some money that came through during COVID. There's some small grants that are available right now. They're anticipating that there might be more grants coming down in February. But a lot of people asking for money to start up or help an existing business. Also, just navigating what it means to get a business license here in the city. Working with a client recently who applied for a type 2 and looking at opening a studio out of their home and just sort of navigating those things where maybe they don't feel super comfortable doing it themselves. So connect with those resources. So
Can I ask a question? Are there any unique challenges or obstacles that your Scappoose clients face that you don't see in other cities in the county?
Well, I would say that retail space is an issue here. Obviously in St. Helens, there's more, but it's an issue throughout the entire county looking for a good space to do good business. But I feel like that's especially a challenge here.
Do you have companies in, let's say they're either working out of their home or a small shop and they might want to grow and move into a new building or kind of expand and they come to you for help with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Look.
working with quite a few clients in that capacity right now. Where they've outgrown their space, or like you said, a home business, they're looking at a brick and mortar. Again, the challenge is finding those spaces, and fortunately, we're in a unique position where I am under the umbrella of the Columbia Economic. Sort of have fingers on the pulse of what is available and what may be coming available, but still it's.
So, another question.
Go ahead.
So you said you're not associated with the college, saying PCC, but would you guys be able to have a space? I could have sworn, and correct me if my memory wrong, but that you guys were as an office to meet clients and maybe an incubator into the new buildings in PCC. Mick,
Yeah,
right?
I have a really good working relationship with them. I've been able to use conference rooms at PCC, OMEC, and OMEC R&D. OMEC R&D has sort of a technology room set up that we've been able to utilize for clients, social media videos and of that nature. So yeah, I do have some blurry space and some nice spaces here in Scappoose that I've been able to utilize, but no office, yeah.
It's going to take a little while. Anything else?
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Did Pete have a question at all?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, it keeps highlighting, so
Thanks, Jason.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have ordinance 910. It's an ordinance related to massage businesses, creating a Scappoose Municipal Code, Chapter 5.20, massage facilities. Chief Stephen Lugal will give us a staff report.
I'm actually gonna push that off. All I did was get a sample copy, and Isaac did 99%.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me here. First thing I'd like to note going into this, well, there's two things. First, this ordinance would, to the best of our knowledge, be the first type of ordinance like this in the state of Oregon. These ordinances are not uncommon in other states, but according to the State Massage Board, and no other cities have this type of ordinance restricting massage business. Second thing going into this is that, as with all ordinance changes, we try to stay mindful of the impact on our small local businesses as we write. So you will see through here as we go through tonight that we have been mindful of the impacts, trying to keep them minimal while still implementing the spirit of the. As you're aware, in late August, we became aware of a massage business in the city that was unlicensed and had a number of issues running afoul of a number of statutes. And historically, massage businesses have been a front for a various number of illicit activities. The easiest way to prevent businesses who have various intentions from establishing is to have a robust business licensing process. So as these businesses are establishing or attempting to establish, you pre-screen and catch some of this behavior and make sure that they don't come and do business in the first place. It was noted that our code lacks those kind of ordinances with teeth to look at these businesses a little bit tighter. So we reached out to the State Massage Board and they gave us some guidance, gave us an ordinance from Colorado to look at, and we patterned an ordinance for the city. I can run through the ordinance if you like. If you have any questions right now, I can answer them.
Just like to add one thing is the report that I gave on the original business denial is at best 25% of what I know and could share. So that information is limited because until this point, the investigation was still ongoing.
If no questions, I'll go ahead and get started. Obviously, this ordinance is fairly specific. The big structure picture of this is that what we want to do is, as people are coming to apply for business licenses, we want to be able to look a little bit more at these particular businesses. And what you'll see here is that we have increased the application requirements. We're asking for more detail about the business, how it's actually physically arranged, who works there, who's a stakeholder or a shareholder in the business, who might be a managing partner, who might be a site manager, and to do a little more due diligence in terms of checking into their backgrounds, to do a little more due diligence in terms of making sure that the people who are on-site managing and on-site practicing massage are actually licensed in the state of Oregon to do business. So we'd ask for some drawings about the business. We ask them to submit to a background check. This would be a basic background check for criminal records. This is more intrusive than the current business license process. We do not ask for anything like this of anybody else. We do not ask for a business license fee. So in order to keep this fair and equitable to our local businesses, our small businesses that are already established, we're not going to ask that they submit to this immediately, but when they do reapply, we're going to ask that they go through this process to look into their backgrounds and submit the same documents. We have ordinances like this. It's important that we apply them equally, fairly to all businesses, and it would kind of be purpose defeating if we didn't make sure that businesses operating here held to the same standards. Another thing about the background checks is that we do ask for renewal of business licenses every year. But we would not ask for new background checks. It was a bit onerous. So business came back for a second business license and they had a new managing partner or a new equity holder. We would ask for a background check on that individual, but the original applicants would have 4 years before they
Are you just doing background checks then on that, every employee, every massage therapist?
No, there's a number of exemptions. So we do exempt. So for example, if you're a chiropractor who does massage, you're exempted. If you're a small business out of your home, you're exempted. If you are teaching, you're exempted. There's a lot of things that are going to rule out a lot of the businesses that are already here. This is really narrowly targeted at massage businesses that only practice massage. That's kind of where you're getting this element of illicit activity.
Are you only background check the owners and the partners of that, though, not each massage therapist that works within the,
Correct.
or someone at the front desk?
Yeah, so the equity holders and those folks, they typically would have, if there was going to be something that showed up, it would be in the people who manage these businesses.
So just to follow up fee would be, say there's 3 owners, fee times 3. Is that what you're saying?
So each one of them would have a background check. The fee that we're asking for is $30 for the background check fee. This is simply cost recovery. The state police charge $33 for the background check. There will be a separate resolution to address that later as we move forward through the process. But we did look at comparators and try to keep that dollar amount low. So we did look at, who would be doing the background checks, what it would cost, and just kind of try to make it that. So I went through the exemptions. There are quite a few, and again, this is gonna rule out the majority of the businesses. I think there's only 2, potentially 3 businesses that would fall under this currently. And again, they just renewed their business licenses. They won't have to apply again for a whole nother year. So I'll have 12 months to prepare for this, a little more rigorous process. And any new applications that come in would be falling underneath this. The rest of this is really dedicated to defining what the consequences are for violations, what we can do in terms of denying a license. It allows us to, in the police department, to go in and do inspections of these buildings to make sure that as they're practicing, that they're maintaining, they still have the same staff. They haven't changed walls and moved them. They haven't done any number of things. And these, we consulted with the police department about when we just constructed these, and they said that these are the kinds of things that they need to be able to enforce this code particularly. Much it for the ordinance. There's obviously a lot more words there, but those are your structures.
Isaac, can I ask a question? In the other cities and states that have done this ordinance, has there been any legal pushback against it?
You mean from already established businesses?
Yeah, basically.
So what we've done mirrors state law. But we have to be realistic about the resources of the district attorney's office as well. And so really what this does is this allows our police to do a separate kind of, I don't want to call it a sting operation, but verification. And then in the event, these cases can be hard to prosecute as well. So in the event that it wasn't necessarily a priority of the district attorney's office, this would give us another avenue in order to make sure that no illicit activity was happening. Our other goal in this is that if there's one city that has these enforcement mechanisms in the state of Oregon and no other city has those enforcement mechanisms, then this does not seem like the type of city that people that wanted to engage in the illicit activity would want to come into, because we actually have the ability to do something on a local level. In looking at this, Chief looked at it from a police perspective. I looked at it from a legal perspective. I don't know that the state massage board has a ton of resources. The licenses that we were provided by an attorney for the applicant demonstrated that they had received business licenses in Portland, despite the fact that they were using the word massage when they weren't supposed to, and that the owner wasn't registered with the state massage board, nor were any of the businesses registered with the state massage board. So they actually have a website that's very easy to use. You can just enter in the name and see if it's registered with the state massage board. But I think that's something that our city staff would do, but that's not necessarily something that other city staffs have done. So again, this investigation, everything else was in response to citizens concerned. There, of course, I think the vast majority of massage therapists that are licensed to the state of Oregon would never engage in any kind of this type of thing. But there are businesses that do, and our goal would be that this would prevent them from considering coming to the city, and in the event that they do, would give our police the resources that they need.
Just want to add one single illicit beautifully associated with not just many other things.
So essentially, the purpose of this is prevention. We're not trying to kick anyone out. What we're trying to do is create a structure where businesses that come here, because of the nature of this look into their business, are unwilling to submit a license.
So, just reading the first time, it seems like it was more the fee was implemented for administration costs to do the background check and so forth. But after hearing Peter, you're saying if we have some kind of ordinance, we have more, I guess, leverage to prosecute if someone is caught. Right?
Yeah, and what we noticed with the state massage board is essentially they would cite one of these operators. The operator would then ask for a contested administrative hearing, which would involve the state massage board bringing in probably an assistant AG. The process would drag on for months, and they would end up doing an administrative resolution that involved a fine. So really, when the state massage board was trying to enforce the operators had kind of figured out how to, I don't want to say game the system, but to make it less likely that they would be prosecuted. And so that's another reason that we just wanted to have this done on a local level, because the state massage board will send in undercover people and come up with the report. But if they don't, if it goes back to that contested hearing and they're not able to prosecute, then what they would be able to do is give that data to us, and then we would be able to responsive to that. But again, our hope would be we never have to, because our hope would be that by doing all this on the front end, we would prevent the businesses from operating here.
Yeah, I get that, but also I kind of saw loopholes. If somebody wanted really to get not or be the exception, there are some of the, I had to look up what golfing and teleworker was, and I guess it's another form of therapy, touch therapy. So I'm just saying, these are the exceptions. So it's saying if you do this type of work and advertise this type of work, you will not be, there would not be a background check on you.
I mean, there are probably businesses we could come up with that do involve the touch of people that aren't a massage. So far, I don't think we've had any of that. I don't think we've had like a professional cuddler or somebody like that try and operate in the city, though. You know, those people apparently exist. You know, if it becomes an issue, then I think that we can certainly expand our definitions in order to include that. This is the massage and kind of the facade of the business is kind of what lets the customers have an idea, I think, of what's going on in there. And so if someone were to, I don't know what rolfing is, but
They readily, once they're established, there are many different websites you can go to find out where to get those type of services.
Mayor.
Yes, Counselor Miller.
I just have a few topics that I'd like to step through here. The first one is the background. So I just want to make sure I understand the process. So we're not actually doing the background. You're sending it to state police to do like an occupational type background, or?
We'll do it in-house. We just pattern the fee off of their fee. So we looked at various fees to set our suggested fee. But we would do that in-house just to make it a little faster for the applicants. We don't want to hold things up. It's a basic background check that is done. We do it for employees. We do it for various folks. It's fairly surface level, I think you call it. And we're looking mostly for illicit activity, so criminal history would be the main thing.
So where I'm going with that is if you're going to use a CGIS system to get that data, there's very strict requirements on how you can use that database. So I would make sure that that is one of the allowed uses there. And then what is the criteria? So if something comes back, who's looking at that and who's judging that?
So the background check information would go back to whoever's doing the background check, probably the LT. They'll be writing a report saying, yes, we found something, or no, we didn't. We don't need any more than that. But if there was something in there that was flagged, that would be looked at by the chief, by the ultimate decider of the business license permit. There are accepting factors. So here there is language that says, okay, so say that somebody had something, right? That would flag, but proximity, how long ago, where, was it 20 years? You can take those kind of factors into account and determining to issue a license or not.
Okay. I would prefer to have that defined, who is evaluating those returns and what the criteria is, just so it's consistent and we don't get accused of discrimination. If we have a policy that sets out the standards for rejecting, then you mitigate your discrimination claims or potential mitigation claims. The other question that I have is, it's a flag to me that we're the only city that's doing this in Oregon. We're absolutely certain that there's no constitution or legal reason why other cities have not done this.
I think it's because that it's covered under state law. So there's state statutes governing all of this, but then it's and that's why our code mirrors state law. But again, it's kind of the dual track. One is we want to send a message that they shouldn't locate here, and then two, that we, in the event that the DA didn't have resources, that we could do it at municipal court.
Thank you.
President Greiser.
I just, I don't want too much to be said or for me to open something up that's, should still be kept under wraps. But it's my understanding, having talked with you throughout this whole process over the last several months, that it's unfortunate that you ran into several dead ends, not in your investigation, but in getting the help that you need, or the resources to write people up, or to find a way that people could stop that behavior, or that the state could help with an investigation, and this ordinance would have helped you during that time, and that it would have made it easier,
This
quote,
ordinance
catch
is,
the bad guy, right?
this ordinance is kind of like a last resort. Early on, I reached out to everyone. I had meetings, I developed relationships, but it was very difficult to get those partners to sign on because of the available resources or lack thereof. And, you know, these type of investigations, because they involve so many different factors, they could go on for a long time. And, you know, I was on it August, September, October, November. I'm still on it. And I could have used help, but yeah, I mean, it was suggested by the massage board that we be a trendsetter and put the massage, ordinance in place so that due to the lack of resources and we would be able to do something about it and keep the community safe.
There is a general fine. It's the general penalty in the code. So if a business is found in violation, so not during the application process, but if an actual business is in violation, there's a fine assessed every day. So be able to go in and check, assess a fine, close down the business, do things we have not been able to do.
Question here then is the background check is done at the time they apply for a business license. Who is looking at the business license? Who's processing that?
Yeah, so that touches a number of hands. So typically when a business license comes in, it goes to the city recorder, and it gets distributed to a number of parties through the city for evaluation. The chief is one of them. That's how we initially flagged the business here. So this would just be a small extra step in the process where that application would take a brief pause in the police department, start look a little bit more in depth at those equity holders, the managing partners, people in the business, and then it would.
That's where the background check would be processed when it hits the police department.
We can definitely change the routing so that, we look at that first. So if there's any issues, we're not wasting staff time or public resources processing something that they couldn't.
Most of the information I found was through open sources. So it was readily available on the internet. It was making a couple of phone calls to confirm. I didn't have to go into any criminal databases to find out this information. It was all readily available. What I can tell you is that the actors involved have paid so much money in fines, but then they still stay in business because they're making that much money. And there's really no way to stop that type of business from coming in unless we have the ordinance.
Like that.
Councilor Miller?
So as far as who your backgrounding goes, is that based on the business license and then there are like articles of incorporation or the information from the Secretary of State, or how do you know who to background and that they're giving you all the names?
Yeah, I mean, they could always hide names, right? You can always have somebody giving you cash or be a cash equity holder. We do ask them to list out all your applicants, principals, managing agents, holders, maybe even employees at the discretion of the chief. So if something flagged and we wanted more information, do rely on them to give us accurate information. And that's kind of where the deterrent comes in. I mean, it's completely possible. You can defeat almost anything. You could lie, and they have, right? I mean, they fronted like a normal business here. I drove by them every day, and there's always a way to kind of slip through. But with this in place, at the first sign of something maybe out of place, you can walk into that business and ask them to look at it. You can, submit them to another background check. We could, have some more checks where currently we don't have the ability to kind of intervene. So let's say a business does slip through. If they're out on the road every day, they're going to notice something. They're in touch with the community, and this gives us the ability to go and do an extra step, do an extra check, sure if that they're doing what they should, or catch them if they're not.
I'm sure I included in my report, but the very first day I received the application, I did an internet search, looked for their website. Then I drove by the business, 2 different, very looking items, which, 26 years of experience led me to, I need to look into this a little more.
It just allows him to do a little bit more, a little bit quicker. We don't have the teeth we need to enforce something.
Yes.
So Isaac, part of the, what concerned me also is can that part of that process be the reputation? So that name of the business that's in question is very similar to another business that's been around here for a long time. Being that we're a small community, right? And so I think it would be unfair. So we would take a look at that. I know that the state, if it's changed a little bit, the state doesn't care, but because we are a small community and because reputation it's key to business, it would. I'm not sure if there's. I know that legally they probably can't, but if something can be suggested to the business, that's is it. Hey, you have a very similar business that is locally to avoid any confusion.
I'd defer to Peter on exact specifics about the law and how we do freedom of speech and naming, but I don't know that we would be able to ask a business to change its business name because it's similar. Whether we want to or not, I just don't really.
Yeah, I don't think that unless they had trademarked the business name and they could, it would be a trademark, cause of confusion type of action. Really, we once we verified with the state corporations division that they have a business, the next step is to go to the massage board and to enter it into their database. And almost none of these businesses are licensed by so if it comes up in one and it doesn't come up in the other, then they can't offer the services they want to offer because they're not licensed. And so then if they were to come back from that, it would be like, do you have a licensed employee who is responsible for this? What's the name of that employee? And so it kind of puts the burden on them. If they believe that staff got it wrong, then they can always appeal to the council. And you guys are the final arbiter of what to do about their business license.
I think the hard part about this, so at the same time we're trying to make this process onerous for illicit businesses, we also are trying to not make the business culture hostile to local business. And I personally think we did about as good a job as we can. We're trying to balance all of this out, try to find something that has teeth, that is going to make it not appealing to do business here if you're trying to do illicit business, and still allows the smaller businesses who might establish here to do that without adding too much cost, without adding too much burden.
Counselor Holmes.
Yeah, hi everyone. So just wondering, did you guys have a chance to speak with any of the existing massage businesses that have been established for a number of years to see if they felt this was burdensome or could be a deterrent to renewing their license?
Yeah, so many of the businesses here don't actually fall underneath this new ordinance because they offer massage as part of a physical therapy or a chiropractic business. The chief did reach out to some of the massage only businesses, and they essentially said that they felt validated by this, and that we would be legitimizing their businesses by making sure that that element isn't here in SCAFU, so that when people drive through and they see a massage business, they know it's legitimate. They know they're getting an actual massage.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
So when the city gets asked why we're only doing this for this type of industry, do we have a defendable?
Yeah, we did this by category of business, and we actually, considering where kind of the recommendations started as far as background checks, we pared it way down. The chief spent a lot more time on this than I did, but the people that get flagged by this, generally there's pandering in their background or things of that nature in their background. And, we already have a variety of means to reject licenses under health and safety. And in fact, during my research, I found that there was once a business license that was rejected based on a sex offender history. But we are aware, and I think that the state massage board's aware too, and everyone's aware that there's certain type of massage businesses that are engaged in this specific illicit activity. if that were to go to another category of businesses where we became aware that they were doing the same thing, I think at that point we would extend that to them as well. I don't think we're aware of that. And again, the other thing is to legitimize the existing businesses that aren't providing illicit services.
Like to say part of the targeting is just kind of historical pattern of abuse in the industry in a number of facets, like Chief said. This particular type of business only offers just massage has been a front for various illicit activities for a long time. And that I don't believe is experienced by a lot of us. So this is really narrowly targeted at one particular type.
Counselor McHugh?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for reaching out to the current massage businesses to get their input. I think that was very, very important. How long does it take to get a turnaround on a background check?
In this instance, 20 minutes.
Okay, okay. I was hoping that something like you'd say. Now, if they are in business and everything's underway and they hire a new employee, does that new employee have to check in with the police department to get a background check?
Until we wouldn't do another background check on new equity holders and business owners until the business license renewal. It would be really hard to know when folks would have new employees because they don't check in with the city until it's time to renew the license. So that's kind of an easy point of touch for us. We know their data is coming to us. We know they're going to be bringing us information. We don't have to ask for more from them than we already do.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before this is a public hearing? So before we open it up, any other comment?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I was taking to heart Counselor Miller's concern about having some sort of a rubric or criteria for approval and denial. And considering we would be the first city to be doing this in the state, I think we need to lock this in as tightly as we can and as clear as we can. And I would feel most comfortable seeing something that explicitly noted what would be a flag and what wouldn't, and what would be criteria for approval and what would be criteria for denial. So I would prefer to have staff work on that piece and have the ordinance come back to us.
I think I wouldn't speak for the chief, but I would say that I would think that we can give some structures.
Mhm.
I think that a lot of this would depend on the type of potential criminality we saw, the
Sure.
amount. So it might be hard to get it very, very, very concrete. We can definitely try to get some boundaries around it.
Yeah, I totally empathize with that, and I'm not expecting something black and white. I understand there's a lot of gray, but I think just when looking at it on paper, what did Scappoose do, or what does it look like when a city adopts something like this?
I mean, that's a great point, right? If we're the first,
Yeah,
it's very likely that we're going to pattern their ordinances off of us.
sure.
And if you pass this, these businesses might, we know there's an established clientele because they've been doing business. They can afford these fines. And so they might just move down the road. And so one of the things that happens with these ordinances is they also tend to travel out. So I expect that this ordinance will be picked up. So I'm having these structured.
And just, legal concerns about people claiming discrimination, et cetera.
Yeah, if we have, to piggyback on what Council President Greisen said too, if we have one person that's reviewing these and rejecting or approving them, we want to be able to try to mitigate somebody claiming that it's, whatever, some sort of protected discrimination or something like that. The best way to do that is through clear defined policies that we've adopted. So that's my concern, to making sure that we're not exposing whoever at the police department to that sort of claims.
Yes, I'm sure like on the Colorado one, or is there a state, Peter, is there a state board that does a background check, and what is their rubric? What is their guidelines for?
So the state board in Oregon, I was actually quite uncomfortable with the Colorado code language. And I think that won't get into it, but the good news in Oregon is the state massage board lists every licensed massage therapist and every licensed business in order to own and operate a business and use the word massage in your business, the owner either needs to be a licensed massage therapist or they need to have a licensed massage therapist basically on staff. The reason for that is because there are other like spa treatments where not all of the people would be licensed massage therapists or the owner might not be, but they'd want to offer those services as well. So the rubric about who can get licensed by the state is pretty clear. And I think that will filter out 99% of the people. The other piece is if you look at our code, and things that we can consider. One of them is like enforcement actions by other state agencies. So the goal would be people that have already been through those sort of violations from the state. That would be another way that we would just flag it. And it would be an easy way to pair out the bad actors from the good. I agree with you that it would probably be prudent to come up with like a class of crimes that would flag because there's some that just there's no nexus between the crime and like no nexus between shoplifting, for instance, or something like this. So we can develop that list with chief and bring that back to you.
And we don't want to penalize people that have had those things in their history, like petty shoplifting. Now they can't go and work so that's kind of my point is my bigger point, I guess you'd say.
Right. No, we were very clear throughout this that we wanted as clean of a process as possible. We wanted it to clearly apply to the category. We wanted to make sure that it was non-discriminatory, and to the extent that people were part of a protected class that weren't going to have any of those problems. I've had a couple of conversations with the district attorney about this. And I know that Chief has had, and he's supportive of it generally. And then Chief's had a lot too. So
Just curious, there is 8 items listed for denials. There's something that you're seeing there that you don't like or that you want changed? I mean, seems pretty clear to me. I'm kind of curious as to what I can do to clarify it for you.
5.20.06.
Yeah, I was looking at that myself, and I think from what I'm listening to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilor Miller, is that you want number 5 be clarified because it says violation provisions are part of applicable laws, and that's very general. So you're saying, and just like Peter was saying about they're going to outline the type of violations or examples.
What page are you on again?
33.
33 to
So it
34.
lists the reasons for the denial, and to me, they seem pretty clear, but if they're not, I would just like some guidance.
Well, the one I think we're concerned is when a background check comes back.
Yep.
And it flags something.
It would only apply to those reasons.
Yeah, that's how it would be applied.
I'm not looking for prior theft charges. I'm looking for licensing being revoked, prior dealings with the massage board, operating without a license. Those specifically what is here is what we're going to look at.
Nothing with things on mine,
It's not allowed. This is what the criteria we're gonna follow.
So I think what it sounds like is you just want us to take what he's looking at, specifics, like you said, fires, problems with massage board, licensing issues, and kind of list those out so that everybody's clear about what we're looking at. And it does actually talk to on 31, talks about some of the specific things we're going to look for.
Yeah, I was just trying to look for anything on there that you would exclude someone when, but
I think the only thing
specific.
I think the only thing we could add is someone who's been found guilty of sex offenses.
I was just saying that.
So I mean, we could add that, but pretty much I'm not going to be looking, if they, were arrested for a theft or something like that. Obviously, we don't want to hurt them from making an honest living. I mean, that's never the intent. And if that's what you need clarified, by all means. That's
So your basic background check finds all these things.
Yes.
Convictions, it would return on a criminal history, yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor President Grice.
I'm super naive to like what you do in your profession. So grain of salt here. Thank you for the grace. So like money laundering. What does that look like on a background check? What does it say? What is it? And can you have a business license in the state of Oregon if you laundered money?
I suppose you could, no one's gonna stop you. But I mean, who's gonna want to get into business with you at that point? But while you bring that up, these type of businesses are notorious for that.
That's what I'm saying. So if it comes up on the background that they have a history of this, isn't,
Well, it's gonna be, it's most likely gonna be tied into this type of business.
yeah,
You know,
so,
So I guess the easiest thing I can explain is, so when I got involved in this, all the players are the same players.
yeah,
I just kept following the trail. And not one massage parlor, not two massage parlors, not three, it's not four. You know, I started slowing down when I started hitting 8. Then now I found
Yeah.
2 more out in California. So it's a network,
yeah.
you know? And like, so from my perspective, this is way bigger than me and
Mhm.
way bigger than our city. So in order to, again, keep our community safe, this ordinance will do that because the resources are not available because this network spans, you know, such a big area.
No, I totally get that. I think from my perspective, you're not going to be here forever. So what's a red flag to you on a background check? Is that the same red flag to somebody else?
Well, I think we could
Okay.
outline that. I understand where you're going.
Okay.
I think we could be very clear with that.
Can we outline that and be clear in separate of this ordinance? A rubric that tells you,
Well, now I understand, you know, what direction you're going in. So, yeah, we can clean that up a little bit. I think that's.
Yeah, it's gonna be defined as like crimes against people and then a certain subset of those crimes. So I think that's what we're looking, is what we're trying to
Is that
wrap our
okay
head
with you
around.
or is that out of?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about what happens practically based on what I've seen from the massage board, they send in decoys, the decoys get solicited, they write them up. And so like proving a money laundering, money laundering can be, you know, very work intensive, but if somebody owns a business where customers, you know, agents of the state are being solicited, that's relatively easy to prove. And in fact, then when confronted, most of the people are like, yeah, I mean, they acknowledge that, you know, that they're frankly part of a network, that they get moved every 2 weeks. That was one of the things that I found most concerning is that there seemed to be evidence of human trafficking. And so, and that's something that the DA found very concerning as well. So again, you know, and I don't want to get too much into things, but the other thing we're trying to do is protect people.
Well, I think what it sounds like where we're going with this is that in number 5, that where it says any other applicable law, that there would the desires to have a little bit more definition around the words applicable law, which sounds to me based on this conversation like sex offenses, human trafficking, and money laundering are probably the big 3 that we're looking for to be actually spelled out in the ordinance. So we will do that
It's on a
Okay.
different page.
on a different page.
So you're correct.
But we
in
could
that.
put it, but we could, I don't think there's any harm in putting it in the section under what would be denial criteria, which is, I think is what they're
Both of
getting
them
at.
actually need addressed because
Yeah.
where it is on page 31, things are fairly generic. Dishonesty is listed. I lie to my kid all the time.
yes,
Just saying.
I think you nailed that word criteria. I just explicitly, we are asking for a background check. That is very new. What is it in the background check that we are looking for? That's all I want, just explicit bullet points of you are in this business, you are submitting your license, you are subject to a background check. This is what we're looking for.
And also, I would note that on 32, section D,
Mhm.
we do have a list of mitigating circumstances.
I did see that.
So
Thank you.
so there is some subjectivity to this activity. Some of it's based on
Yes.
history and all these things.
like President Grayson, I, very naive to the background checks. I've done a lot with Little League and we're not looking at all these violated a license. It's a lot of different background checks. So I'm thinking of those things coming up, but it's a little different here. Yeah, I do like a little clarity on a few of the big ones that, I'm thinking more of the people that may have had an issue way back in the past and we don't want to hold something against them that maybe isn't related anymore. We need to. Anything else?
No, I was, um, Alex just took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say that. And so a reference to number 5, maybe we can just have a reference of listing, reference to section or appendix or whatever it may be. But, so what we're hearing is that we're going to hear this again, right?
My question now is, if we do make a change, are we still having a public hearing? We need to wait.
I mean, we
So
can,
it's on what, then it'd be on, still be on second reading at the next meeting, just with amend the request.
yeah, we can either take it back, revise it and bring it back, or we can do the first reading tonight, noting that the categories of offense, and also if you want like a durational requirement, like that the crime would have been in the last 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is, so that, you know, people's history isn't held against them forever. That's something that we could do, we could look at too, if you want.
I don't necessarily need a time frame myself. I do want to give them a little discretion on that, but, so are we able to then make these motions with a few changes and still have a public hearing and then come back and so I should open the hearing first? Any questions before we do that? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the ordinance related to massage businesses, creating Scappoose Municipal Code, Chapter 5.20, massage facilities? You have one. Your name and your city, please.
Marissa Jacobs, Scappoose, Oregon. Background checks. I actually am very much involved in background checks in the corporate world. So this conversation has been quite interesting. So I will just share some thoughts with you for consideration as you're finalizing this ordinance. First, with respect to duration in the corporate world, it's a 7-year criminal background check that we adhere to. More importantly, every state and even subsequent jurisdictions, which I'm sure Mr. Watts is aware, governs what you can look at and what you can't look at. 2, the other thing is with respect to the criteria. I understand the concern on having a defined matrix on how background checks are being what's called adjudicated. They're being reviewed. My suggestion is that you would like to want to keep it, you want a structure, you want a framework, but you want to also give yourself the ability to interpret what is being found on those background checks. It's very difficult to try to create a very specific criteria matrix to evaluate background checks. So you have to really level it up into like nonviolent misdemeanor and felonies and violent misdemeanor and felonies. And you may put criteria together that says if you've had a violent felony within the last 1 to 7 years, you're automatically not going to be moving forward. So these are just some of the things that myself and one of the companies I work with in town have been working through. But I would just like to offer the suggestion of keeping the finite detail of how you, what is being evaluated internal and just set out big framework. So it gives the discretion to, in this case, the police officers, the ability to take that information and adjudicate it appropriately so that they're protecting the community. Thank you.
Any other public comment hearing? Nation? Okay, seeing that, I will close the public hearing and move it forward to council to discuss. Yes.
Now I'm just, by listening to everything, I'm thinking is $30 enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
so
not
the
set
state,
in stone at this time, right? It's going to be based on a cost. We're not trying to make money on this. We'd like to cover some of our expenses.
yeah, and this is based on the state police background check, which is far more thorough. We talked about cost recovery, how many minutes is it going to take? What is the salary of the folks doing this? Fully loaded, what does that actually look like? What's the break, like very specific down to, we are just asking for pure cost recovery.
So President Grace.
And you said earlier, potentially there's just only 3 businesses right now that fall into this category. So
Yeah,
at most you'd be doing, a handful.
And it would last for 3 years. I mean, we're not asking them to come back every year and drag out a background check, fill a form,
Yeah.
pay money. So it's a small limited amount. They have 1 year to prep for this process, including the extra fees associated with it. But yeah, this issue of the fee will come back as a separate resolution to council as well. So we can talk about the details definitely.
That is my question then. Ms. Jacobs kind of brought, is 3 years too soon? I mean, is a 5-year, you're talking, we're looking at most of these are the legitimate ones. And if there's 3 owners, 3 partners, and then they bring a new one in, I mean, having them apply on the background check every 3 years, it's another thing I was looking at.
We definitely felt 1 was too much. We felt like 6 or 7 was stretching it. Kind of talked with Chief a little bit about what do you think is reasonable? How many years do things change? He kind of said, 3 years, that's a pretty decent amount of time for something to change at a business. You can adjust that too, though, if that's too short. There's not really a direction on that. And then the Colorado ordinance, it's every single.
I keep thinking of the spirit of the law. We're trying to prevent these from opening up and starting in the first place. A lot easier to handle these before they start than once they get going. At the same time, you don't want to take advantage of the ones that are legitimate, that are working, that have been here for a while. And I think what I'm seeing here, it doesn't. I think it does justify their business, and so I'm fine with what is on there. Potentially a few of the provisions we may add. Anybody have anything else? Anybody want to make a motion to add or change anything on there, or move this forward? After hearing a little testimony there, do we want to look at 5 and look at changing that, or are we fine with the way it is now?
It sounds to me like it was going maybe in a separate category or in a different one, just the clarifications.
Around the language for what we're looking for in the background check. So I think if I was to construct this and redo it, I would probably take section D on page 31 and get far more specific there.
Okay.
And for number 5, I would reference that back to section D as described, so that I'm not creating extra language in the ordinance, so it's a little bit easier to understand. But that's where I would probably nestle it, would be page 31, section D, where we kind of list some of these things generally.
Yeah, and it says equities holders criminal history, which you'll be getting off the background check. It's conviction or guilty plea to these charges. If you could add a few.
That's kind of where I'd plug in those.
And then again, if they can, if they are denied, they can appeal and be looked at. Yes.
And then you usually do this, but can you just highlight or note it? Yeah, in the next couple. You're the best. Thank you.
Hearing that, do we make a motion then with these changes to move it on, or do we have to? Okay, does anyone want to make a motion? When we do make a motion, are we going to make some specific changes, or just say with the changes to come and they will be on the next meeting?
I think that we could just say with the amendments that were suggested during the hearing. I think all of you are on the same page and we have clarity on what you're looking for.
Yes.
I'd like to move ordinance 910 with the ordinance or with the changes or amendments that were said during the hearing made.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Mason? Okay, since there's no vote at this meeting, it will be at the next meeting.
We need to do discussion or?
I need discussion. We've been doing that. Okay, ordinance 910. An ordinance relating to massage businesses creating Scappoose Municipal Code, Chapter 5.20. Massage facilities is on first reading and will come back to council at our next regularly scheduled meeting for discussion and potential adoption. Okay. Announcements. Calendar Economic Development Committee meeting January 19 at noon. Parks and Rec Committee meeting January 19 at 6 p.m. A Planning Commission January 26 at 7 p.m. A 50-year Stakeholder Advisory Committee meeting January 31 at 6 p.m. City Council Work Session February 6 at 6 p.m. Next two City Council meetings, February 6 and February 21st at 7 p.m. Urban Renewal Agency meeting February 21 at 6 p.m. And another Planning Commission meeting February 23rd at 7 p.m. And then any updates? We'll go ahead and do our updates. Alex, any updates?
Yes, Mayor and Council. So I just want to remind everyone that the boards and commissions dinner to thank our volunteers is on January 25th at 6 p.m. at Extapa. And that's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Police Chief Lugal.
Hello, I actually didn't have any updates, but I wanted to address some of the comments that were made earlier about the juveniles. I usually don't like talking about those type of matters, but we are well aware of the incidents that were brought up. We have identified the youth that are involved, and I think Councilor Miller explained the process very well. And they're involved in a lot of other areas, and there are a lot of different groups that we work with where these names have been popping up. So we're attempting to find resources for them. So I just wanted to let you know that we're on top of it.
Thank you. Councilor, let's start with LaFrance.
Oh.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Councilor Holmes.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, it's been a little bit difficult with traveling, getting settled in. I'm looking forward to all of the meetings that we have kicking off this year. There's lots of exciting things underway with the Parks Master Plan, and looking forward to the next steps in the 50-year plan. Thank you.
While online, Councilor McHugh.
No, thank you, but no comments. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Councilor Santiago.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back in the council, and I appreciate everything. And thank you, Chief, for addressing the issue from we had earlier today. I do appreciate that you looking into those programs, kids, because it is important. I also would like to tell you everyone to please just drive safely. It's dark and wet out there. There's just so many accidents, and you know what? You're late, but it's, you know, as long as you're safe. So just slow it down on Highway 30, please.
Thank you. Councilor Miller.
Just a couple things. I'll try to keep this brief. I'm looking forward to our annual goal setting retreat on February 4th. And for the new counselors, this is a great opportunity. It really kind of guides the city and city staff on what our primary goals are throughout the year. So all that to say, come prepared. Think about what you want to see from the city. Review what our past goals and our current goals are the carryover goals, and just come to February 4th with some good ideas and ready for discussion. The second thing I'd like to just briefly update council on is on January 11th, which was Wednesday. 911 had their joint board and advisory committee meeting, and I'll keep this short, but basically what the recommendation was, or the motion I should say, was to sole source and go Motorola with Washington County. and there were 5 votes for no. And all the police departments voted no to that, with the exception of St. Helens PD. And that includes the sheriff's office. They voted no on that as well. But all the fire departments voted yes, and St. Helens PD also joined them with the yes, so that got 6 votes. So as we go forward here, everybody knows my concerns about the millions more dollars that it's going to cost to go that route, and some other concerns that I have. But I just wanted to give a quick update on that, and I'm going to try to meet with our mayor to try to figure out what more city council can do to try to educate the public on what's going on, and just basically see what else we can do as city council to try to get the 911 board to be more open and go out for an actual RFP and get the best price for the system that's needed, so that we're accomplishing what our first responders need at the best possible price for our taxpayers. And that's, in my opinion, that's not what's happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Grayson.
I'm hopeful that we have some answers with some of our resources for our youth. I've been hearing a lot of different things. Made me think I need to have a conversation with the chief about something I heard. Later this week, legal counsel and Alex and I are meeting with some representatives from the senior center to get an update on how they're handling some of their capital improvements and how they're addressing some of their the concerns in the letter from Department of Justice, and just the good things that are happening at the senior center right now. In February, on the 21st, I'm part of the bond advisory committee for the school district, but because of the holiday, that's when we have a meeting. At some point, maybe I don't know when you decide on the agenda that far out, but then I could maybe take a look and see how I could split my time or get one or the other. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. I did want to thank Lisa Bendel for stepping up and helping there as well with the youth. I really appreciate, I think the kids just knowing there's someone out there to help them really does help to begin with. So I appreciate that. I had the pleasure of being elected to the CET board, Columbia Economic Team board, with a couple others, Casey Garrett, Betsy Johnson. So I really look forward to that opportunity. The meeting we had, it looks like there's a lot of good things in Columbia County. I think a lot of good things for Scappoose, hopefully for economic development. So I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. There's a lot of things happening, and I think this right now is a good time to be here in Scappoose. So I really appreciate that and look forward to that. That's all I have as well for today. We good? Okay, and then we got an executive session, ORS 192.660H, to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. City of Scappoose will now meet in executive session for the purpose of ORS 192.660. The executive session is held pursuant to consult with counsel concerning legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, which allows the city council to meet in executive session. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All our members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in the executive session, and at the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back in the room.
I'm gonna go the rest.
We good? Take a few minutes.
It is now. This is the end.